I'm looking for my boss to give me the go. Patrick.
Is that me?
Yeah. Thank you all for attending the press conference on a package of bills that I believe addresses one of the gravest concerns that our world is facing today, which is forced labor as well as child labor. And we are looking at many different things across this world, but one of the issues is atrocities against humans. And as we move into our portion of the world, we begin to see a manufacturing process that is developed, that is brought forward, that encourages a huge labor issue onto the people of this world, namely sourcing of materials that sources from countries that may not have as strict of laws prohibiting forced labor or child labor. As we go through the day or as we go through the press conference, you're going to find that there touches many different things, and it is sectored in a couple different parts of the world. Let me go ahead and start with the first bill in the package. The first bill in the package would prohibit the Michigan Strategic Fund, and conversely, the Michigan Economic MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Commission, from funding any organization that cannot certify that their materials are labor-free or forced labor-free or child labor-free. It would include any type of material. This is a checklist right off the top that says if you are using child labor, if you are using forced labor in your materials or in your process, Michigan is not going to do business with you. If you cannot certify that you are treating your workers correctly, if you cannot certify that you are not abusing children, then you have no right to do business in Michigan. This is a very important thing that we're doing. Why? Because when we make laws, when we make rules, it's usually in response to something. And unfortunately, we have some very bad actors that are using very young children in mines. We have some very bad actors that are using religious slaves to mine other material. Michigan must lead. Michigan must stand for that which is right in protecting the rights of workers, and protecting the lives of innocent children. So as we begin looking at what can Michigan do, first and foremost, we can say, we will not do business with you. We won't do business if you are going to abuse people. And you must certify that you are not abusing those individuals. Today, I have Reps Aragona, Reps Bierlein, and Rep Johnson with me. And they're going to talk about different parts of the package of bills that they are dealing with, as well as a resolution that calls for Michigan to lead. Rep Aragona?
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. This is a serious issue. The solar panels that we use throughout the country and will increasingly use after the package of bills that was passed last week use cobalt, specifically in the energy storage when they collect the energy, when they're collecting these rays from the sun. Unfortunately, the batteries often use cobalt. They pretty much always use cobalt. 70% of the cobalt mined throughout the world comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. A lot of the mining of this cobalt is coming from forced labor from children. In fact, they're often using their hands to mine this cobalt. This is something we can't turn a blind eye to. We can't ignore. Cobalt causes cancer. It causes a variety of other adverse health effects. And unfortunately, we're about to say that we want even more cobalt from this area. The bills that we're looking at are just simply asking the companies to do the right thing, to ethically do the right thing, to go in and say, look, we want to make sure that the cobalt that we get, that the materials that we get are not being taken or not being mined from the earth using children. This is something that I think everybody can get behind. I think this is a bipartisan idea. I also want to touch on polysilicon. Polysilicon is also something used in the creation of solar panels. Unfortunately, a lot of that is coming from China, from the Uyghur Muslims, who are being forced to mine that as well. So this is something that is oppressing a certain group within one of the world's superpowers. Should we turn a blind eye to that? Should we simply say, well, we want all the solar panels and we're not gonna worry about where they come from? I don't think we can do that. I think that's incredibly irresponsible for us. In fact, it's inhumane. What we're trying to do here, we just told the solar industry that we're poised to be one of the biggest buyers of solar panels and wind, but we need to tell them that we only will buy ethically sourced materials when we go to this type of energy portfolio. We must have a conscience. There has to be justice for these children. Many of these kids are dying. They're losing limbs. They're going through tragic health defects simply because we have a thirst for this cobalt, for these products. And we need to do better as humans. So I think I'm going to turn this over to Representative Bierlein. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Aragona. Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Matthew Bierlein, and I'm really excited to be a part of this package. One thing my colleagues and I tried to echo in the House chamber last week was the consequences of the renewable mandates and what they would do in Michigan. We spoke about how this would affect our neighbors, our families, our loved ones, our kids in the future, and future generations in this state. But today we're here to talk about how these mandates are going to affect people throughout the world. Thousands of miles from Michigan, apparently beyond the boundaries of sympathy, there are laborers, especially children, that are being exploited to mine cobalt, the very essential component in the lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. They're in every car battery, every phone battery, every computer battery that we all use every day. The countries most affected by this is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as Rep. Aragona explained. 70% of the cobalt mined in the world is coming from there. Of the 250,000 cobalt miners in the Congo, 40,000 of them are children, some as young as 6, where they dig with their hands for $2 a day. While being exposed to toxic and deadly environment that, as the rep explained, can cause cancer as well as numerous other effects because it is a heavy metal. The human cost of our green energy ambitions is far too high, and this growth demand has led to ethical concerns regarding the sourcing of materials and the components that they use to power them. Likewise, the Xinjiang region of China, nearly half of the world's polysilicon, which is a crucial resource for solar panels, is produced there. But behind this remarkable achievement lies a dark reality that over 100,000 Uyghurs, ethnic Kazakhs, and other Muslim minorities are being subjected to forced labor after detention in re-education camps. This is a blatant violation of human rights, and we can't ignore it. We cannot ignore it any longer. We believe it's our duty to ensure that the green energy products we embrace are not tainted by the exploitation of forced labor. It's unsafe, the working conditions are terrible, and we cannot oppress children like this. It's crucial that we as a state commit to the principles of ethical and responsible manufacturing practices. This is not just a matter of conscience, it's a matter of human rights. In light of these ethical concerns, I'm proud to introduce, along with my colleagues, a package of solutions aimed not at only recognizing and condemning forced and child labor, but actively seeking to prevent Michigan from participating in this unethical supply chain. These bills are a step in ensuring that the products we use to power our green energy revolution are as clean as the production as they are in their operation. We have a moral duty to ensure that our progress towards a more sustainable world does not come at the cost of human lives. By introducing this legislation, we aim to make Michigan a shining example of ethical and responsible manufacturing practices in the world. I'm going to turn it over to Rep. Johnson, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us here today. We talk a lot about the word ethics. Ethics are taught in our high schools, our colleges, and if we make technological and energy advancements without being truly ethical, we are failing. We are failing our society. We are failing our fellow humans, our humanity. We are failing our culture. What we're talking about today is an ethical problem of trying to win profit, to win the almighty dollar at the expense of human life. As we move forward with broad changes to our economy at a very fast pace, we need to take into account a huge range of issues. One of them has been mentioned here already, child labor, and how other nations, they do not have federal standards like we do. They allow for the overworking and the abuse of children for their business model. That's business to them. In America, we call that a violation of human rights. Some of these children are handling very dangerous materials, as you've heard from my colleagues, to meet the demands of their employers. We cannot purchase products that are supplied to us on the backs of the children in these other countries who are overworked and exploited. We have to make sure that we are safeguarding their health and wellness when we head into a brand new economy. We are accountable for what we purchase from other nations that have very poor standards for human rights. This has to do with our electric vehicle obsession. We can't take shortcuts where children are in danger of being abused in other nations. As has been mentioned, and I'm going to say it again, so we all imprint this in our mind, 60% of cobalt is produced by forced labor. 40,000 child laborers are mining for cobalt that will be supplied to China for the development of lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. We cannot buy products from manufacturers operating in these conditions and taking advantage of little children, the most vulnerable in any society. That is why I'm sponsoring a resolution. I'm agreeing with this bill package today, highlighting the need to uphold a standard against child labor. The mining of harmful materials for the production of lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles is a very serious threat to defenseless children. We can do better, and we have to do better. Thank you.
As you see, we have a very ethical dilemma on the front of us. All we are asking for is for Michigan to lead in that which is right. There is no question about what is happening in Africa and what is happening in China is ethically immoral. Michigan should be a top 10 state in our ethics, in where we find our materials for our obsessions. Therefore, each of these bills prohibits state money from being used to purchase or procure any material, any item, any manufacturing, not just solar panels, not just batteries, anything. Michigan will be not allowed to purchase any of it or subsidize it unless they can prove that they are not using child forced labor nor slavery in their materials. With that, are there any questions? Yes, question.
Yeah, so if we do use these ethical ways, will it end up not getting the cobalt in at the same amount of time that it would for forced labor? Or are there ways that we could ensure the cobalt would come in at the same amount of time?
Well, I think as I look at this, first and foremost, I was a pastor for 20 years. So I don't care how long it takes to get something. My question is it ethically and morally correct? So if we cannot procure something ethically and morally correctly, do we really need that material? And so my understanding is almost all of these rare earth materials are mined elsewhere in the world where they do not have the cleanliness standard nor the legal standards. However, I'm also told that there are places in our country where we have these standards set up that have these materials. So if we must mine in America to to move forward our obsession with these things, then I think maybe America should look at doing it correctly and leading there. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Would it affect our trade negotiations with China and our renewables, all the products that come from China?
That's a great question.
Turbine blades and
Yeah. That's a great question. I hope so, because it is very scary to turn over our whole electrical system, our generation, to a country that we have to negotiate whether or not we can buy a solar panel from, that you're using Muslim prisoners to get their material. So I really hope it puts us in a position where we stop and say, you know what, we have, in our state, we have one of the largest producers of polysilicon material in the country. Maybe we should stop and say, let's do it right. Let's do it the correct way. Let's let Michigan lead. And if that means that saying, China, we're going to put you on pause for a little while until you can prove to us that you know how to treat people correctly, I think that's a good thing. Other questions? If I could ask Representative DeSena to come on up, we'd like to get a picture up here. And then from there, the representatives will be available for any personal conversations.